Hey, fans, I'm Thomas Mott. Welcome to Philadelphia Eagles Now. We, of course, have a mailbag video coming up later on this week, as we always do. If you're brand new and want to get in on a question, you have a question, we put it on the show, you ask, I answer. That's how it works here. Go down below, use the hashtag Eagles in the comment section. You got to go hashtag Eagles, ask your question. I know people struggle with that, but that's how you do it. And then you ask your question in the comment section, and I will hopefully pull it and answer it in a video coming up on Friday or Saturday. So mailbag calls, what we do, go down below and give me your mailbag questions. All right, let's jump into some more mock trades. Yes, with the NFL trade deadline looming, I want to give you some more options and some more mock trades that I have come up with today that potentially could be done by the Philadelphia Eagles. Now, we have no idea if they're actually going to make any of these deadline moves. They're going to be buyers, they're going to be sellers, they're going to stay put. No idea. It's my best guess. I'll give you a mock trade. Eagles give this, they get that sort of thing, and then I'll give you my grade of that trade as well if it were to actually happen. So let's just go ahead and create some rumors here and see what happens, what we can actually do with our Philadelphia Eagles, starting with the first trade, and this is one that I think is very likely. It's getting rid of Andre Dillard. Now, the team that would trade for him is just kind of look around the National Football League. Who needs a left tackle? The Chiefs are definitely one of them that need help on the offensive line, whether it is left tackle or potentially move him over to right tackle. But Dillard definitely, I think, is going to be shipped away. There are teams already calling, according to NFL Network's Ian Rappaport. And so I think the return, whether it's the Chiefs or not, is probably a third-round draft pick. I would hope you could get a second for Andre Dillard because he was a former first-round draft pick, and that's maybe a very fair deal. But a third is more likely because, of course, teams know that Dillard's not even playing right now. And so it's like, hey, you can just keep him or you can get a third for him. And so I think a third is more likely. I would still grade this out as a 4 out of 5. I think this would be a solid move for the Philadelphia Eagles. And we can complain about depth, and that's definitely a very true reality because we saw what happened earlier on this year where he filled in very well. And I think that had Mailata not been Mailata, or had Mailata not existed, I think Dillard would be a very good left tackle for the Eagles right now. But with Mailata getting the extension, that basically doomed any sort of chance that Dillard had of being a long-term solution left tackle. And so I'm fine with letting him go, even if it does mean that you lack a little bit of depth. You can't keep two starting left tackles on your team forever. And so the Eagles have gotten away with it for the past 6 weeks, maybe 7 weeks now. And so I think that if someone wants to make a good offer, I'm fine and I'm down for it. Although I will say Mailata was kind of great at left tackle and then struggled at right tackle and then was figuring out right tackle and then left tackle last week got beat up a lot by the Raiders. I think he just takes more time to kind of get back to his natural position at left tackle, so I'm not worried about him in terms of last week's performance against the Raiders. But I think Dillard is definitely an option to go ahead and be moved. I think he's probably one of the more likely internal candidates to be shipped out of here over the next couple of days. Name a player you guys think the Eagles will trade by the deadline. Is there someone on the roster you think guaranteed? Like if I had to pick one to be Dillard, who would you pick right now that the Eagles would possibly even guaranteed to be traded by the NFL trade deadline? Give me that comment down below right now. Now, I've mentioned this name a lot, and we talked about Miles Sanders the past couple of months now to the point of they don't use him. Okay, well, that means maybe trade him. And so even though I don't think they will trade him, here's what one would look like, right? Atlanta Falcons definitely need a running back right now. I think they 100% would benefit by adding a guy like Miles Sanders. They'd actually use him as well, which Philadelphia doesn't do. But the point of this mock trade is to show you his return value. I don't think you'd anything higher than a 4th-round draft pick. I would want a 4th-round draft pick, though. I wouldn't give Miles Sanders for a 5th or a 6th. That seems like an absolute slap in the face in terms of all Eagle fans because we understand how good he is, the team themselves, in terms of Harry Roseman and Nick Sirianni don't for whatever reason. But I think a 4th-round draft pick is your best offer. If someone offered you a 3rd, that sounds great, but even if it is a 4th-round draft pick, I still give it a grade of a 2 out of 5 because I don't want this to happen. Like, this is a fair trade for Miles Sanders in terms of actual running back value, like whether you think Sanders is the best or not. Like, this is the actual trade value, but I would just not do this, so I'd give it a 2 out of 5. Now, that does mean that the running back depth chart would be a little odd going forward, right? It would have to be Kenny Gainwell as your lead back, and then Boston Scott, who got a couple of carries in the absence of Miles Sanders last week. It was fun to see him. It's like, oh yeah, I remember Boston Scott was like a hero for us the past 2 years, especially against the Giants, but he would then get a lot more touches, so depth would be okay. Obviously, this would all hinge on Miles Sanders' health because right now he has an ankle injury, and you can't really trade a player who's actively injured unless the team agrees to it, which is a whole different issue. So I do think it's very unlikely that he does get traded, but we mentioned his name enough here on the channel to where I wanted to give you a look at what it could look like if they went ahead and traded him. So there's your trade, a 4th in exchange for Miles Sanders. Before we get into the next player in terms of a mock trade here, a quick shout out to our friends at BetUS, chatsports.com/EaglesBet. Promo code is Eagles125, and I know you guys have been waiting for it. Thomas, what are your picks of the week? Give me the 5 so we can win some money. Here they are. I'm 20-13-3 this year, or 2 this year, so you're winning money when you bet my picks according to what's happened the first 7 weeks. Here's what we're going to do. Atlanta at home against the Panthers. They're 3-point favorites. Carolina's not good at all, and they've had the Deshaun Watson drama, even though they said they're not going to trade for him today. Either way, Falcons by more than 3. I'll take that one. I'm going to bet against Philadelphia. Now, I'm going to bet Detroit +3, so that means to cover, so the Eagles could win by 3 and we still win the bet here, but I mean, I don't know how you bet on Philadelphia in this one. The Lions play everybody tough. So it wouldn't surprise me if a no-win tough Lions team plays a 2-win not tough Eagle team. I hate betting against Philadelphia, but I bet against them when I picked the Chiefs to win a couple weeks ago. We won money that time. We're trying to win money here. Bet with our head, not our heart, so give me Detroit. The Titans are only 1-point favorites at Carson Wentz and the Colts. Tennessee all the way, baby. They're peaking at just the right time. Back-to-back wins over the Bills and the Chiefs. I love Tennessee, and -1 is like an absolute joke. That's free money. I am going to roll the dice with the Chargers. I know we got burned by the Raven-Charger game 2 weeks ago. I think the Chargers roll the Patriots. The Patriots get a little bit of, fool's gold last week because they blew up the Jets, and it's like, well, it was the Jets with Mike White as their quarterback. So Chargers -5.5. And I'll go Bucks big over the Saints. Bucks are less than a touchdown point favorite. I think the Bucks win by at least 10. Give me Brady and company as they roll on against the Saints on the road. All right, let's go over here to some more mock trades. How about Steven Nelson? I think about some players that they could ship away if they're feeling like the season is lost, and Steven Nelson is definitely one of them. Now, you won't get much in return. 2022 fifth-round draft pick is a good example of that, but a team like the Packers could really use some cornerback help as they've had a lot of injuries in the secondary, and I'd honestly be okay with this. I think a 4 out of 5 would be my grade for getting rid of Nelson for a 5th, and you might say, Thomas, we need Steven Nelson, and I agree. I think he's played well this year, but he's on a 1-year deal, so you're going to lose him to free agency next year. He's not going to come back, right? So, and you're going to draft somebody, hopefully, Stingley out of LSU. It would be a great replacement. So, get something in return for him is something I would definitely do, and I think a team trading for him is a lot more likely than a team, trading for Fletcher Cox, which we talked about over the past couple of days. I just don't know if a team is going to give up that much for a guy who costs that much. I think Nelson's a lot easier to trade, a lot cheaper to trade. And, you could see what you got in the rookie cornerback and Zach McPherson, because I think they've liked him in training camp and during the preseason. He's played a lot of special teams this year, so you at least have some depth there, which would mean that Philadelphia should be okay with it. But if they're going to be big-time sellers, then why not get rid of Nelson? Because you don't need him after next year. You get something in return, and then they're going to have a boatload of picks next year to go ahead and hopefully finally get a good cornerback in there that they have drafted, because they haven't drafted a good one in a very long time. You guys think the Eagles be buyers or sellers at the trade deadline? What do you think? Type B down below for buyer, type S down below for seller. I don't know. I mean, I'm leaning towards sell because you're 2-5, but Howie always makes, strange moves. And so being a buyer at the deadline or getting somebody in addition wouldn't necessarily shock me. But if something does happen, we will cover it here on the channel. So as always, make sure you guys are subscribed, because if the trade happens, which could happen honestly, really any time starting Monday. I think Monday is kind of the day that things really start kicking up, although it is the 27th. The deadline is next week, so really any day. But right now, of course, make sure you guys are subscribed for all the great content, not just, breaking news, but all the news and rumors and, of course, the mailbag videos and previews and everything we do here on the channel that you guys know and love. So go ahead and go down below and subscribe. Now, I think if we have to talk about a mock trade, I want to show you an example of trading for somebody here. And I think we're going to do 2 back-to-back on trading for somebody. And so we'll do something simple like a James Washington out of the Pittsburgh Steelers. I think trading for a wide receiver is something the Eagles should 100% do. I think that they wouldn't trade for a big-name guy. Like, don't expect OBJ. But when you look at a guy like a N'Keal Harry out of the Patriots or James Washington, you could get it for cheap. Like, you get a 6th-round draft pick would be most that we have to go up here. Maybe a 7th. It would not be very expensive. And I think he'd be a good addition. 4 out of 5. Much like N'Keal Harry, James Washington is a guy who needs to change the scenery. Could he come and be a bust? Yes, but you only spend a 6th-round draft pick to find that out. Could he come and be, the 1st-round draft pick, 2nd-round draft pick he was drafted to be? Yes. So, I mean, I would be definitely for that if the Eagles want to go ahead and add somebody. I like the idea of bringing in competition for Reagor, as he has been very much useless this year. And behind Reagor, I mean, Watkins has been great. They just don't utilize him. And so you got to figure out your receivers of the future. We know Smith and Watkins will be there. Who's number 3? Let's bring in some competition. Bring in James Washington. I'd be fine with that. Now, our final trade is kind of a pipe dream here. So I was looking around at who teams are, mock trades and who people might be, looking to get. And I ran into this trade talking about the Panthers needing O-line help and Andre Dillard being a good answer. And so I said, okay, what could the Panthers give us in order to get Andre Dillard? And then I just got crazy and gave yourself, this is a very, very, very crazy trade, and I doubt the Panthers would do it, but let's just give you an example of something kind of, player for player sort of thing. So the Panthers have this guy, this young pass rusher named gross-matos. I think he came out of Penn State. I could be wrong on that. It might have been, it was somewhere in the Big Ten. Either way, they like him, and they think he has great potential, but he's kind of been on off the football field, and he's not really starting right now, and so I could see a scenario where they want Dillard so bad, we say, okay, take Derek Barnett's contract, which would be unbelievable because no one wants Derek Barnett's contract. Give us a young pass rusher in exchange and give us a 2nd-round draft pick. Now, is that fair to the Panthers? Probably not, but then again, how bad do you want Andre Dillard? That's what I would ask. How bad do you want him? And so a trade like this is something that I would 100% do, like 5 out of 5 on the grade. It's very unlikely, but I want to give you an example of, teams at the deadline are getting people because they're desperate for players, and the Panthers might be desperate for a left tackle, and if they are, make them pay for it, get a 2nd-round draft pick for Dillard, and then swap the pass rushers. That way you take a young, much let's say, higher ceiling player in your gross-matos versus a guy like Derek Barnett, who obviously his ceiling is like way down low because he stinks now, even though he was good at once upon a time, but is no longer. All right, quickly, we'll roll back here through the trades. We could go ahead and wrap this video up. Dillard is probably worth a third, probably maybe a second, but we'll say a third to the Chiefs. You'll get a fourth-round draft pick in exchange for Miles Sanders. You're going to ship him to a team like the Falcons, who definitely need a running back. Steven Nelson is not worth a lot because he's going to be a free agent next year, so a fifth-round draft pick to the Packers would make a lot of sense to me. If you want to bring in somebody like a James Washington from the Pittsburgh Steelers, again, not that expensive, sixth-round draft pick, very easy to do. And finally, my crazy trade, which is very unlikely, but we'll at least throw it up there. Yetur Gross-Matos and a second for Andre Dillard and Derek Barnett. I would do that like right now. Like I would just sign it and get it done because that'd be a great trade, but unlikely. Which trade do you guys like the most? Probably 5, but out of all of them, which trade would you guys do right now? Let me know down below right now in the comments section. Curious you guys' thoughts on this one. 1, 2, 3, or 5. We did 5 trades for you guys here today. All right, ultimate for today on our Philadelphia Eagles potential mock trade. I mean, we're going to see what happens. I mean, you just throw a lot of darts at the board, and maybe one of them sticks. You know the Eagles are going to be willing and dealing. Do they buy? Do they sell? Who knows? We'll cover it here on the channel. I'm Thomas Mott, ultimate for today, signing off for the rest of your day.